Hello and welcome to Combat Patrol Carnage. Moving along with issue 2, and we're on to our new read articles. So as I said in video 1, we're looking at some new information for the Tyranids, including invasion swarms, vanguard swarms, and a little bit of background about the Imperium before we learn more about Space Marines in issue 3, which I'll be picking up a spare copy of because I want the extra Infernus Marines for a paint project. This series is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for everything hobby related. They buy and sell new and used armies, which includes your piles of shame. They also sell stuff such as paintbrushes and other hobby supplies, and including gaming aids such as tokens and dice. So check them out, there'll be a link in the video description down below. And who knows, you may just find your new hobby project awaiting for you there. Right, with that out of the way, let's head over and we'll do some reading, I think. So here we are back with issue 2, and it's time for us to do some reading. So yeah, we built our Von Ryan's Leapers in the last video. So now we got some brand new lore to discover, starting with the Imperium. Vast spires tower above the choking smog of industry below. The Imperium is the greatest and most powerful empire humanity has ever known. Through zealotry and fervent belief, it claims dominion over 1 million worlds. Since its founding over 10,000 years ago, the Imperium has always been dedicated to war. It was first forged in the fires of the Great Crusade, a campaign to conquer the galaxy in the name of the Emperor that has never truly ended. The Imperium does not negotiate and does not surrender. All of humanity must serve in its endless wars, whether as soldiers in its vast armies or as workers in its industries. The scale of the Imperium is vast. Entire planets are set aside to manage its labyrinthian bureaucracy. The Imperium will only stop when the entire galaxy is in its grasp and its dominance is absolute. So yeah, a nice bit. We're finally learning a bit more about the background and the underworkings of the Imperium with the awesome new anthology series, The Ties, on Warhammer Plus. It's really nice. We've seen the duty of a Space Marine in the case of an apothecary collecting the gene seed of fallen battle brothers. In episode 1, episode 2, we see the collection of the Psychers to be sacrificed for the Golden Throne with a Custodian and a Sister of Silence. And we're going to be having this week, so Wednesday the 18th, it's going to be all about ammunition. We see a Kazakin squad trying to break through an Orc defense line to bring refreshing ammunition to the troops on the ground. So that's going to be quite an interesting one to watch. So flipping over the page, we've got a few shots of the armies of the Imperium. So Defenders of Humanity. The Imperium armies are as varied as they are vast. The ranks of its colossal crusades include holy warriors who worship the God Emperor through violence, genetically enhanced super soldiers, advanced combat cyborgs, and millions upon millions of human soldiers drawn from cultures and planets across the galaxy. An elite force of Space Marine holds the line against a horde of Tyranids. So yeah, this is pretty much what we're going to be getting in the collection, except for the librarians missing. But yeah, we get the Terminator Captain, some Terminators, and the Infernus Marines there, facing off against some Termagants and a Ripper Swarm. Under the stern watch of a Commissar, the Astra Militarum bombard their foes. So again, we've got 2 of these coming in our collection, the awesome bombard guns. We can see just off the corner there a command squad, a Castellan up there, and there's the Commissar in his greatcoat watching over the Imperium and the Astra Militarum reloading the guns. Moving on, the Adeptus Sororitas march forth singing hymns of war and unleashing hails of fire. Possibly one of my favourite factions of the Imperium, the Battle Sisters, or as I like to call them, Nuns of Guns. So you see a medic there, a preacher at the back, basic squad, and a more veteran-looking squad there. Finally then, the cybernetic warriors, the Adeptus Mechanicus, test their latest inventions in the field. So yeah, awesome half human, half cyborg guys. They like to discover new and lost technologies, and yeah, try them out pretty much in battle, as they say. The keenest blade is righteous hatred. Lovely quote there. Moving on, we have a page for the Tyranids, and we're looking at the Vanguard swarms. So this involves von sleepers. Vanguard organisms ambush their unprepared foes. Vanguard swarms. The Tyranid swarm fights using advanced strategy and tactics. Before assaulting a world in force, the hive mind will dispatch stealthy packs of hunter-killers to infiltrate a planet's defenses. These vanguard organisms will ruthlessly work to gather vital intelligence while spreading fear and disarray. The Tyranids are an incredibly flexible fighting force, with organisms adapted for any form of warfare. Some of the most feared and sinister Tyranid warforms are the vanguard organisms, who are charged with vital early assaults on prey planet. Chameleonic skin, razor-sharp talons, and the terrifying singular coordination shared by all Tyranids makes these organisms the perfect scouts and assassins. Packs of gene stealers advance through rusted tunnels and forgotten sewers, gathering key information on the world's defenders. Meanwhile, lictors stalk in the shadow, pouncing on key enemies. Their prey suffer a fate even worse than death, as lictors use their long feeder tendrils to feast on the minds of their victims. Battle plans, troop deployments, and other vital strategic information is relayed synaptically to the hive mind, allowing the Tyranids to adapt their strategy further. Even more specialized and dangerous vanguard organisms exist. Among the most feared are the parasites of Mortrex, which infest their enemies with fast-growing broods of flesh-eating ripper swarms. A dagger in the dark is worth 1,000 swords at dawn. Gene Stealers. Gene Stealers stalk ahead of the Tyranid hive fleets. They stow away on space hulks and in the cargo holds of vessels. When they reach a world rich in biomass, the Gene Stealers will psychically relay its position to the hive mind and the wider swarm. Gene Stealers are terrifying combatants. Their claws are razor sharp and can make the mockery of even sturdiest armor. Gene Stealers surge forth from their hidden nests to shred the enemies of the Tyranids. There is no choice between the Emperor and the Abyss. Ambush tactics. Vanguard swarms use cunning tactics to slaughter their enemies. They use stealth and terrain to their advantage, never revealing themselves to the foe. As lictors and assassin beasts brutally dismantle the enemy's command structure, Gene Stealers, von Rhinesleepers, and more horrors besides launch deadly ambushes on terrified troops. As Hormagaunts distract Imperial Navy troops, a lictor bursts from a hatch to attack these unfortunate warriors. Awesome. Yeah, I wish we'd got the new Hormagaunts of this collection, as they are fantastic models, lovely leaping poses, making them look a lot more vicious than the old models used to be. Moving on, we have the invasion swarms. Tyranid monstrosities begin the work of draining the biomass from a world. Invasion swarms. No two Tyranid invasion forces are quite alike, but all are terrifying to behold. Descending from the sky in biological landing craft, a Tyranid invasion will often consist of several towering synaptic beasts. Each of these will have total control over vast swarms of ferocious war organisms. Tyranid invasions are swift and brutal. Having already gathered vital intelligence from the vanguard organisms, the invasion force will have been tailored by the hive mind to most effectively overwhelm a planet's defenders. On a fortified world, the Tyranids deploy broods of hulking, armor-crushing carnifexes, while using tunneling beasts to burrow beneath the foe's defenses. Should an enemy try to take out the Tyranids from above, the Tyranids will respond in kind with swarms of gargoyles and acid-spewing hive crones. The heart of every invasion force is its synapse creatures, where for most conventional forces, commanders represent a point of vulnerability. To the Tyranids, their leader beasts are bulwarks of horrific strength. The most common and most dreaded of their number are the hive tyrants. These towering monsters stalk above the scuttling troops, scything down ranks of enemies and unleashing brutal fusillades of biological firepower. Joined in the hive mind, a Tyranid invasion reacts to every change in their opponent's tactics and with sinister swiftness. Hive fleets. The Tyranids are split into different hive fleets. These are all part of the hive mind, but each have developed its own adaptations, such as a particular psychic might or potent toxins. I'm sure we'll learn more about hive fleets in future articles. Teeming swarms of termagants skitter across the battlefield, firing devastating organic ammunition. Termagants. Termagants are the chittering, scuttling front line of countless Tyranid forces. They are a great living tide of claws, teeth, and biological firepower. Some wield flesh borers, which launch deadly, burrowing beetles towards foes with deadly force. Others fight with rifles that propel spikes of bone across great distances or spray enemies with swarms of devouring worms. Termagants are most dangerous when directed by a synapse creature, and they will fight fearlessly to accomplish the hive mind's goals. Enlightenment is a myth we do not need to understand in order to hate. Hormagaunts. Where termagants wield an array of biological weapons, hormagaunts are adapted for savage enemies in close combat. Their alien musculature allows them to punch through flak armor and flesh, or to leap over enemy cover to find their prey. Like termagants, hormagaunts are deployed by the hive mind in overwhelming numbers. A fortification may hold for a time against a horde of hormagaunts, but eventually their ammunition will be spent, at which point they are devoured by the next wave. Hormagaunts charge forwards towards an unfortunate foe with gnashing teeth and piercing talons. And yeah, these guys look awesome. Very deadly foe in Space Marine 2. Right, moving on, we've got our latest collect article, so I'll need my dice and my pen, and we'll name our Von Ryan's Leapers. Von Ryan's Leapers are stealthy vanguard organisms that sow gory havoc behind enemy lines. Deployed as infiltrators or left in hidden locations like living landmines, Von Ryan's Leapers remain eerily still until the moment of the kill. When their prey is close, they explode into action in a storm of bladed claws. Alright, so we know the drill. Let's roll and see what we get. And it's 5. So these are the Whispering Ones. So Von Ryan Leapers emit haunting cries that sound like wounded warriors to lure the prey. Alright, in the extra bit there later on. So deeds, we can mark off our build as we have built them. We won't be painting them for a while until issue 4. We'll get the first few base coats down and we'll be playing with them in part 3. And we got the bleed through on this issue. Oh dear. I was so hoping we wouldn't have it. But yeah, we've got the data sheet for the Von Ryan Leapers there. So the usual stats, a little bit about them, any abilities and their weapons. They just have their leaping talons. And of course what the Combat Patrol collection actually is there as well. Finally then, for today's video, we have Tyranid Units, another collect article. So naming the models and units in your collection is a great way to build a connection with them and forge exciting narratives on the tabletop. You can use the tables on the next page to make names for any Tyranid units. Tyranids do not give themselves names, but they are often given nicknames by their terrified victims. So you see the entire Combat Patrol there. So everything we'll be getting, plus the Parasite of Mortrex, which isn't pictured. But we have the Winged Prime, the Von Ryan's Leapers, as we know. Barb Gaunts we get in issue 6. The awesome Psychophage, who eats cycles for breakfast and spews them out. And then we've got 2 units of the 10 Termagants, each with a little Ripper Swarm to help them out in combat. So how to use the table then? These Tyranid names have 2 parts. Roll as directed here to find the column and row to name of the name you have generated. Then combine the name you generate from the first table with the second table For example, the Devouring Shadow. So as we see here, we got 6 rows and 6 columns. So for instance, let's try this out. We've got a 2 followed by a 3. So we have the Devouring, and then a 1 followed by a 6. So the Devouring Tyrant. That'd be a pretty cool one for one of our leader beasts. And we got another quote there. We give our enemies many names, but to them, I fear, we are only food. So there'll be plenty of quotes throughout this. I like this. I like that. But yeah, next up then, we have our play article. So we'll save that for video 3. But there we have our latest video for issue 2. Yeah, pretty cool. We've learnt some new information about the Tyrannid Swarms, as well as a tiny bit about the Imperium and the different factions within it. I'm sure there'll be plenty more in the next issue, as we are looking at adding new Space Marines and a bit more about the Space Marines backgrounds to our collection. So yeah, pretty cool issue. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all very much for watching. Big shout out, of course, to warbay.shop for sponsoring the series. And I'll see you next time on Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.